Tomba.
At the beginning of the movie, we will be introduced to a prisoner named Rupashov, who is currently imprisoned in a special prison for disabilities. But suddenly there are other prisoners who try to attack him until a commotion ensues. Story short, Rupashov is finally released from prison, and here Rupashov is immediately welcomed by a mafia boss named Rados. Then the story moves to a young man named Zolika, who is a disabled person who has a disorder in his spine so that his legs must be permanently paralyzed. He also lies down every hour because his back always hurts. And every day he spends his time drawing a comic. The next day, Zolika was taken by his mother to be examined by a doctor, and the doctor who had examined him advised Zolika to do surgery so that his back pain could heal, but to do the operation required a lot of money. In the afternoon, when Zolika was relaxing, suddenly he was visited by his best friend named Barba, and he also looked the same as Zolika, namely a person with a disability. Here, Barba invited Zolika to leave the house because he had just stolen a fire extinguisher. But when they were playing the tool, they were suddenly visited by Rupashov. Rupashov, who felt uncomfortable seeing their behavior, immediately slapped Zolika and then told them to return the tool. Zolika, who did not accept, challenged Rupashov to a duel until finally a small commotion ensued. Rupashov, who felt sorry, then he returned to help Zolika, and Rupashov explained that his legs were like this because he was caught in a fire incident, so he was annoyed if anyone even played the extinguisher. Then he invited Zolika and Barba to come with him to a nightclub, and they immediately followed him without thinking. Arriving there, Barba and Zolika were amazed by the situation in the nightclub because they had just come there for the first time. While enjoying disco music, they were also treated by Rupashov to drink the water that was available there. Then Rupashov told them that he needed special people like them in carrying out his mission. He asked Barba if Barba could drive a car, and Barba said that he could drive, but could not speed. After Rupashov explained everything, finally Barba and Zolika were willing to carry out the mission that would be carried out tomorrow.
Champagne.
The next day is shown with Rupashov being given a package by Rados, who is the mafia boss we saw at the beginning of the movie. Here, Rados advised Rupashov to be careful on his mission, and he ordered Rupashov to go to a field. Story short, when he got there, Rupashov turned out to be ordered by Rados to finish off the gangsters who were going to make drug transactions, and shortly after that came Barba and Zolika. The gangsters who didn't know who they were immediately tried to drive him away, but Rupashov explained that he was the one who would finish them off on orders from Rados. It seems that the gangsters who underestimate their opponents even berate Rupashov, and they also tried to torture Rupashov by stabbing his legs. But Rupashov is not the least bit painful because his legs have been numb since he was paralyzed. Not satisfied with that, they also tried to attack Rupashov again, until finally Rupashov took out the package previously given by Rados and then finished them off one by one. Here we are told that Rupashov is a hitman who is often used by big mafia bosses, and his goal of inviting Zolika and Barba is none other than because he needs a friend and a ride home. After that, Rupashov's leg wound was treated by a nurse who was his former lover in the past. Here, the former lover invited Rupashov to attend his wedding, which will be held in 1 week. It seems that Rupashov still really likes his former lover, even though he knows the ex-girlfriend already has a new boyfriend. While at the same time, it was seen that Rados the mafia boss was playing with his favorite beast dogs, but when he was about to return home, suddenly the shooting occurred. Fortunately, the shot only hit his hand. Here, Rados immediately ordered his dog to attack the people back to death. It turns out that the people are one of the Mafia group's men who are Rado's business rivals. Returning to Rupashov, who is now frustrated because his ex-girlfriend is getting married soon, he finally decided to exercise out and he violently tried to climb onto a bridge, and then a bad incident occurred. The next day, Rupashov met Rados to collect payment for his work yesterday, and Rados was very impressed with Rupashov for being able to finish off the enemy, even though Rupashov could not walk. Here, Rados again ordered Rupashov to finish off his business rival, a mafia boss who was always protected by one government official, and for that, Rados asked Rupashov to first finish off the official. Then afterward, Rados gave a message to Rupashov so that Rupashov worked alone without the help of any party, because Rados did not want anyone to be an eyewitness. On the other hand, Zolika and Barba continued their hobby of making drawings to take part in a comic exhibition event, but unfortunately, the comics they made were rejected by the committee on the grounds that they were less interesting. Of course, this made them both sad. From there, Zolika went to Rupashov, who was training his legs, and there Zolika told Rupashov that he wanted to become a hitman because his dream of becoming a comic artist seemed to have failed. Hearing this, Rupashov, of course, refused and immediately chased Zolika away, but he fell and couldn't stand up anymore. Seeing that Zolika then also fell while saying that Rupashov was more useful than him. Because he felt sorry for him in the end, Rupashov wanted to invite Zolika and Barba to rejoin. The next day, they began a mission to assassinate an important official who had conspired with rival mafia boss Rados. Rupashov was in charge of executing the official by pretending to feed the birds while Barba and Zolika would give the signal and distract. Until when the official was about to leave, Barba walked in front of him to distract, and Rupashov shot him. Everyone was confused because no one suspected Rupashov, and when the bodyguards were busy looking for the perpetrator, Rupashov and the others had already escaped from there. But behind that, it turned out that Rados was watching Rupashov, and he just found out that this mission was carried out with Rupashov's friends. Then the story continues to Rupashov, who is being tortured by Rados, and it is because Rupashov has brought Zolika and Barba in the previous mission. Here Rados asks Rupashov to kill his two friends so that there are no witnesses to the incident. The next day, Rupashov took Barba and Zolika to fish in the lake, and when they got there, the three of them told stories while enjoying the fishing atmosphere. Until soon after Barba's bait was eaten, and then this is what Rupashov did. After seeing them drown, Rupashov's little heart said that this was very inappropriate for him to do, and in the end, Rupashov decided to help them both back. In the evening, Rupashov apologized to the two of them, and as an apology, Rupashov gave them a firearm. Rupashov said that in the next mission he would still invite the two of them. In the afternoon, Rupashov returned to see Rados, and he lied by saying that he was ready to carry out the task because he had killed Zolika and Barba. Hearing this, Rados was finally relieved because now there were no more eyewitnesses, and Rados immediately told Rupashov to complete his last mission to finish off Rados's rival, mafia boss. But unfortunately, a few hours later, Rados accidentally found Zolika and Barba, who were still alive. And in the end, Rados planned to finish off the three of them after the last mission was completed. The next day, Rupashov and his two friends set out on the mission. He told them to wait for him in the car, and that if he didn't return within 20 minutes, Zolika should call the police immediately. Arriving in front of the mafia boss's house, Rupashov told the guards that he had a message to deliver from the mafia boss's brother, who was in the disability prison. In the end, Rupashov was brought in and lifted inside until he met the mafia boss. But apparently the mafia boss already knew that Rupashov wanted to trap them because his brother, who was in the disability prison, had died 1 week ago. And in the end, a shootout ensued. After completing the mission, Rupashov rushed to escape from there, and with all his strength, he tried to push his wheelchair until he finally arrived at the exit gate. And because the door could not be opened, Rupashov was forced to call his two colleagues to pick up immediately. Once there, Rupashov told Barba to smash the gate with their car, and as they were about to leave, suddenly heard the sound of police sirens coming closer. Here, Rupashov thought that Zolika had contacted the police when it had not been 20 minutes, but Zolika insisted that he had not contacted anyone, and in the end, Zolika went to block the police who were coming. Zolika told the police that the criminals had gone north, while Rupashov and Barba had gone south. The next day, Rupashov returned to see Rados to ask for his payment, and Rados said before he paid Rupashov, there was one thing to discuss. It turned out that at that time, Rados took Rupashov to an empty warehouse, and here he planned to finish off Rupashov by hanging because he was considered to have lied to him. Good luck after Rados left, it turned out that Rupashov managed to release the bond. In the evening, Rupashov contacted his two colleagues to gather immediately before Rados found them, and at that moment they both rushed to a place that Rupashov had told them. Once there, the three of them planned to finish off Rados the next day, because for now, Rupashov would go to the wedding of his former lover first. Story short, Rupashov was already at the wedding, and it seemed that Rupashov was still very much in love with his former lover. So he went up on stage to sing a heartbreak song. After that, Rupashov had a conversation with his former lover until he desperately wanted to kiss her. But his former lover certainly felt Rupashov had gone too far at this time. As a result, Rupashov was taken to the back of the building and then severely beaten by the groom's family. But soon Zolika came with a gun given from Rupashov, and it turned out that they both went after Rupashov because they were worried about him. On the way home, Rupashov thanked them both. The next day, they began their mission to kill Rados, and their mission began with monitoring Rados's house from a considerable distance. Barba had a little trouble because his hand was always shaking by itself, and after feeling that it was enough, they hurried away and would launch the action later that night. A short time later at night, when Rados had just returned home, it turned out that there was already Rupashov and also Zolika. Rados was a little surprised because he thought that Rupashov had really died. Here, Rados said that he would give the key to the safe to pay them if he managed to get past his dogs. When Rados's pets attacked, a shocking shot was fired, and then there was a duel between Rados and Rupashov, until in the end, Rados was successfully eliminated by Zolika, while Rupashov was also killed in the incident. Zolika was very sad because Rupashov was considered his own father. Then he took all the money in Rados's safe. After the incident, Zolika performed surgery so that his back did not hurt every day. And at the end of the movie, we are shown with Zolika and Barba, who have become famous comic creators. It is known that all of these comics tell about the figure of Rupashov, and then the movie is over.